It's Hot Stove, and it's cooking, presented by the General Insurance.
Is it ever?
Adnan Burkin from Matt Vasquez alongside Harold Reynolds. Sierra Santos is back from vacation in the house. Keith Costas is here. We got Brianna Adams, first time producing, Capalbo, Lucas.
Look at you,
all-star roster here.
Everybody some love.
Now, before we get to the base, when we got Morosi coming up, we got all the stars. How about this throwback last night? And you'll appreciate this.
Okay.
Playing back in the 80s. Last night, my wife and I sat down and watched Night Court. It's back. One of the most popular.
Night Court is back?
Is back. The very popular show in the 80s. Great
Holy
comedy.
Smokes.
They have a reboot now on NBC last night. John Larroquette is back. He plays Dan Fielding.
He's still doing this?
He's wow. Your reaction is the same as mine. He's 75 years old, H.
Wow.
He won 4 Emmys playing Dan Fielding, and he's now back. Now, the original Night Court, he was the prosecutor.
Is he a judge now?
Now he's a defense attorney. So that's how they flipped it. But you're right. I kept thinking this should be a judge by now.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, I don't know if you ever have a show like you watched when you were younger, and you're like, I can't believe this is, imagine, like Magnum P.I. is now back. That was 30 years ago. Imagine if they brought back Family Ties.
How about that? Well, they brought back, what was the car?
Knight Rider.
Knight Rider with Kit. Hey, speaking of the 70s and throwing back.
Please.
You remember, people, let me tell you about my best friend.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Of course.
Well, I was thinking about that song because I got this video from Buck Showalter.
Okay.
He's with his grandson, Winston. And Buck, you know, he's keeping it young, right?
Oh, my God.
Winston just said, Grandpa, you got to go hop in the trampoline with me.
Yes.
All right?
Way to go, Buck.
Buck goes, hangs out with this little dude all the time. And, you know, I'm not a grandfather, but everybody talks, look at Buck, he's all in. Hold on, Buck.
Tell you, man, that's that balance of a 4-time manager of the year.
I love it. I love it. But, you know, we talk about so much how you travel and the baseball team becomes your family, but your family becomes part of that team too.
Yes.
And for his grandkids to be able to hang out, Winston is a Lindor fan.
Nice.
So he was trying to get Buck to wear a Lindor jersey. He's like, no, I got my own. You know,
I'm the skipper here.
Yeah. How cool is that?
Oh, that's awesome. And that's how you stay young at heart. I mean, you
Yes.
young kids like that, it invigorates you. And you're right. I think you've seen a shift now. When you were playing, it was kind of like, hey, wives and girlfriends, kids at home. Now it's like, Dave, it's a long road trip. Go ahead, man. Bring them along. If that's going to make you play better, make you feel more comfortable, we're all for it.
Yeah. And I like the shift. It's really great that they've made that change. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. I think
100%.
the only family I saw travel were the Griffeys together.
Nice.
Imagine.
Father and son. What's up, Junior? What's up, Pops?
That was fun. It was fun.
As always, you can contact the show. Maybe you send in your trampoline videos. Maybe you can show us what you're doing, like Buck Showalter and Winston. You can tweet us. You can call us, leave a voicemail. Lots of different options. Social media as well. If you want to get a hold of us, obviously, we got lots to talk about today. How about the fact, you know, this is that kind of time. Hall of Fame next week, but a month from spring training. You feel like most of the guys have signed. But then the Boston Red Sox still making some news. There's Adam Duvall now in the fold with Boston.
That was a big move. They needed to do something. And sometimes a guy fits the ballpark. Mm-hmm. Duvall flat out rakes, but he fits that park as well. So, yeah, they needed to do something, though, and they still got some work to do.
Yeah.
And there'll be moves made even during the season as we get, you know, you got till April, when's it, March now?
Yeah.
It used to be April, but
as
soon as the opening day, there's moves all the way up to that point.
100%. And 1 year, $7 million for Duvall, a guy that can hit and obviously give different options. Where are you at right now physically? As you said, if you're a month away from the spring training, were you starting to ramp up or are you still kind of like, so this is
you're ready to go. January, it's almost the end of January, you're going.
Yeah.
I mean, pitchers and catchers start by Valentine's. That was always the deadline. So they're going. And the difference with this year for this year's players is the WBC.
Big time.
You know, they are ready to go. They start facing pitchers, and pitchers are throwing bullpens and all that stuff. I used to go home to Oregon, and I lived in Corvallis, and Oregon State University is there, so I used to always go over and face their college pitchers.
Smart.
And get some. It was different because they didn't throw at the same velocity.
Right.
You know, there are some guys now, but it was. You know, but I got some swings in.
Yeah.
And that was important to do.
That's my thing. I'm always like, there's only so much running and lifting that you can do, right? You can look good and be in great shape, but to actually do baseball exercises. And now these guys are, I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Well, what they're doing now, I think, is so different. We didn't necessarily do it as much, is they're now going to Florida early or to Arizona early to get themselves right. And it's paying off.
It is. You mentioned the fact Boston's made some moves. You think they'll make some more moves. Here's what the lineup would look like right now. So Masataka Yoshida coming over from Japan. The word is there. He can definitely help as far as on-base percentage is concerned. Kike Hernandez will now be the shortstop. As Xander Bogaerts out, Kike becomes the guy. Devers
they got too many what-ifs. There's not enough guarantees.
Yes.
I don't know what this guy from Japan on base percentage. Do it here.
Yeah.
Because there's not many guys that have come over and hit. Pitchers, yes, but not many hitters. So we'll see. Kike Hernandez at short for a full season. I don't know about that. Rafi Devers, we know what he'll do. Don't know what Justin Turner's going to do coming, right now at this point in time in his career. So they got too many what ifs. But one what if we don't have is what if J.P. Morosi is going to show up or not? Is he going to show?
No, he always delivers. Drops the girls off, gets them going to school, and then he's locked in. Morosi's got his priorities straight. Speaking of family and work, we're leading the league right now with J.P. John, we mentioned the fact the Boston Red Sox and Adam Duvall, this is a nice signing for them. 1 year, $7 million. How do you see it?
Love it, and good morning, Adnan and Harold. Great to be on the show as always. I do love this fit. Adam Duvall, as we recall, was a Gold Glove outfielder just 2 seasons ago. Of course, he missed the second half with that wrist surgery. Reports now on his health are very good. I think a 1 year, $7 million deal is excellent for a team that needs a little bit more security with their outfield plan. Jarren Duran might pan out, and we'll see with Yoshida in left field. But this is a team that, for me, was screaming to have one more consistent everyday bat who can defend quite well. And he can play some center field, which is a really aspect of what Duvall brings. He also brings
I can learn to understand you much better.
Well, and it's a fair point. Fenway's a challenging place to play center field, Harold. He brings a right-handed bat to a lineup that's become increasingly left-handed. And I really like the way we looked at the lineup a moment ago. I think him batting 6th is a really good spot for Adam Duvall. I share Adnan's concern perhaps about, and Harold's concern about how Kike might play shortstop over a full 162. It wouldn't surprise me if this is a club that looks at Elvis Andrus, who is still out there and available as a free agent, as a possible fallback option at shortstop to bring him into camp and see how he does. Casas, that's going to be a huge question there at first base. Arroyo at second. It's a team that really is missing Xander Bogaerts, and we know that. That's been well documented. I would also say this. It's a team that when we talk about how close they were to the World Series in 2021, they also had Kyle Schwarber on that team, and he's been gone now for more than a year. When you think about Schwarber and Bogaerts missing from the lineup that played the Astros in the ALCS in 2021, I think those 2 star players are 2 huge reasons why they're probably going to be fighting to be a winning team in 2023.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult in that division. And that's the thing. It's who you playing. And I know we've balanced the schedule a little bit better. I can't imagine what it'd be like if they played the Yankees 19 times and they played the Blue Jays 19 times. They'd be getting beat up quite a bit. We'll see. And I'll say this to you, JP. I brought this up. These rosters are not set yet. They've got a long way before opening day. They will continue to make some adjustments, make some trades, make some moves. They're going to be better than what we're putting up right now. Do you agree with that?
I do, and I think there are some organizations that have an excellent farm system to where they'll have some players come into camp and compete for jobs. To make a couple big picture points, Harold. Number one, I still think this is probably, hopefully, the last year in which we show up to spring training and there are still some players who missed all of 2020 and 2021 had its interruptions as well. I think now developmentally we're finally all caught up. And you might still see a surprise from a player who was about to play Class A baseball in 2020 and that season was canceled, and they're now all caught up. I still think we're in a range where we're going to get some surprises. And importantly, because of the World Baseball Classic, a lot of younger players will get a tremendous amount of opportunity to play with their club in spring training and get additional looks and additional at-bats to where the front office says, hey, this player might be ready ahead of schedule. I'll be really curious to the point about Kike Hernandez to see what his role is in the World Baseball Classic because, of course, with Team Puerto Rico, we expect Lindor to be the shortstop, Correa to be the third baseman, Baez to be at second. Kike probably is going to play the outfield with Team Puerto Rico during that two-week plus stretch these with the World Baseball Classic. And so that's the same amount of time where he's not getting reps as the shortstop. That's why I would love to see the Red Sox sign Elvis Andrus, let him play a bunch of shortstop during spring training camp. And I think in general, you'll get a chance maybe in spring training to be surprised by some players. The final point is to send it back to you guys on free agency in general. This is a really healthy market. We're not even it's basically mid-January, and most of the major league contracts have already been handed out. You think about where we were a year ago, we weren't doing anything. And now you've got the free agent market is effectively done. That, to me, is emblematic of an industry that's very healthy, a free agent market that's had a lot of fluidity and pace to it during the course of the offseason. So I would say this, on both the team side and the player and player agent side, there should be a lot of satisfied parties with the free agent market this offseason.
All right, how about the trade market? Luis Ariz is a guy who's perennially in the mix for the batting title, and there's some talk now the Twins could trade him to help that starting pitching, which, part of the pun, JP, could use a shot in the arm.
It really could. And a really interesting report from Dan Hayes in The Athletic here in recent days about Luis Ariz possibly going to the Miami Marlins. And the Marlins have been really aggressive in looking for bats all offseason long. They are certainly, to your point earlier, not done with their offseason shopping. They want to find a way to get one more bat, and who better to go to than someone who's been perpetually in the batting champion conversation in Luis Ariz, who can play some second, some first, gives you a really reliable, great contact, bat-to-ball performance from the left-hand side of the batter's box. And for the Twins, this is where perhaps getting Carlos Correa in allows you to have a bit more flexibility with your infield group and to bring in more reliability on the pitching side. Now, Pablo Lopez is someone who's been talked about a lot as being a trade candidate with the Marlins. They added Johnny Cueto in recent weeks to really supplement their starting rotation to where they now have tradable depth. And Pablo Lopez was a legitimate candidate to be traded as far back as the trade deadline in 2022. Our Joel Sherman's reported a lot about how the Yankees thought they were on the move there to potentially bring in Pablo Lopez at the trade deadline. That's why they made the Montgomery trade. But I think one name that's really interesting, and he's probably not going to the Twins in this deal if it ends up happening, but that's Edward Cabrera, someone who I think is underrated around the industry for just how talented he is, what he showed in 2022. Cabrera has an electrifying arm. And so if we see Lopez move on to the Twin Cities, and the Twins believe they're going to get a better performance, certainly Chris Paddock, the former Marlin, coming back from Tommy John surgery, they believe he's going to be a huge part of their rotation. Tyler Mahle as well, although Mahle's getting closer to free agency. This is a trade that makes a lot of sense on both sides of the equation. My understanding is it's still being talked about, but we're not yet at a stage, Adnan and Harold, where anything is imminent right now with the trade between Miami and Minnesota.
Good stuff, JP. We'll check back to you later. I don't know if you saw off the top, though, but Harold had a video there. Buck Showalter with his grandson on the trampoline. You a big trampoline guy? You and the girls get after it, jumping up and down there in the backyard?
I'm not a big trampoline guy. I will say this. This is what happens when you are married to a doctor. Whenever there's word of a trampoline, Alexis just shakes her head and says, "No, John, can't do it." But I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
Now, Adnan, you're going to love this, my friend. You will appreciate this.
Oh yeah,
this is one of my Christmas gifts of the year.
Yeah.
When you can rock Les Nordiques du Québec, the toque of the Quebec Nordiques. That is style, my friend. So I wanted to make sure I'm working on Je te val un peu de mon français. I'm trying to work on my French, and so when I have the Nordiques logo literally pressed upon my head, I feel just a bit better in my French speaking.
Oh my God!
I love it. It looks good.
The rating's skyrocketing in French Canada right now.
Bon.
You look like Peter Stastny.
I love
it. Look how they say. Awesome stuff, JP. Thank you.
That's cool. Hey, that's pretty amazing. He threw me with the hat. I was going to go into talking about the Marlins.
You had a baseball point to make. Yeah. You got thrown up. Go ahead.
Well, everybody keeps talking about Lopez being traded from the Marlins. This has been out there for quite a while. And I'm sitting here going, there's only one pitcher I want from the Marlins, and that's Sandy. I mean, I'm sorry. The guy's locked up for 5 years at $55 million.
Incredible contract.
He's the best pitcher in baseball. and he's going to bring me back everything I need and then some.